All right, let's dive into a story that feels like it's ripped from a modern legal drama, but it's nearly 2,000 years old. We're talking about politics, a clash of beliefs, and a justice system that's about to be tested. This is the incredible trial of the Apostle Paul before the Roman governor Felix. And this really is the central question, isn't it? What happens when one person's deeply held convictions are seen as a direct threat to the most powerful empire on earth? I mean, it's an absolute collision course, and you have to wonder how anyone could stand up against the full might of Roman law. Okay, so our story kicks off in Caesarea, a major Roman capital. Just 5 days after his arrest, Paul is hauled before the governor, a man named Felix. And his accusers, they've shown up in force. You've got the high priest Ananias himself, and they've brought in the big guns, a professional Roman lawyer named Tertullus. The tension in the room must have been electric. So the trial starts. But get this, the very first move from the prosecution isn't an accusation, it's flattery. The lawyer, Tertullus, just heaps praise on Governor Felix. It's a classic courtroom tactic, right? Butter up the judge, get him on your side before you even mention the defendant. After all that sweet talk, Tertullus gets down to business. He starts to paint a picture of Paul, not as a religious man, but as a public menace, a serious threat to the peace and stability of the entire Roman Empire. And look at how they frame it. It's a three-pronged attack. First, he's a troublemaker, a guy who supposedly starts riots wherever he goes. Second, he's the ringleader of the Nazarene sect, which is basically their way of calling his faith a dangerous and subversive cult. And then the final blow. He tried to desecrate the temple. Now that last one, that's a potential death sentence, no question. And it's not just the lawyer, you know? All the other accusers are right there with him, nodding along, chiming in that every word is true. They're putting on this big, united front to make it seem like the case is an absolute slam dunk. Then, the governor gestures to Paul. It's his turn. And with no lawyer standing beside him, Paul gets up to speak for himself. And you know what? His response is remarkably calm, confident, and incredibly clear. His strategy is just brilliant. He systematically takes each charge and just dismantles it with the facts. Stirring up riots? He's like, you can't find a single person who saw me arguing with anyone. Desecrating the temple? He says, nope, I was ceremonially clean and there wasn't even a crowd. And the charge of being a sect ringleader? He cleverly reframes it. He basically says, look, I follow the way, which you call a sect, but I believe it's the truest way to worship the God of our fathers. And this is the heart of it all. Paul isn't just arguing legal points, he's appealing to a higher standard. He's saying that at the end of the day, he answers to his own conscience and to God. He's framing this as a matter of personal integrity. And then Paul plays his trump card. It's a fantastic legal move. He basically asks, so where are the guys who actually accused me? The ones from Asia who started this whole thing? They weren't even in the courtroom to testify. That's a massive, gaping hole in the prosecution's case. So after hearing both sides, you'd expect a verdict, right? But Felix does something really strange. He just stops the trial. No verdict. Now, we're told he was well acquainted with the way, so he knew what this was really about, which really makes you wonder, why the sudden pause? The official reason Felix gives is that he needs to wait for the Roman commander, Lysias, to show up and give his testimony. Now, on the surface, that sounds fair enough, just gathering all the facts. But there's a lot more going on beneath the surface. Yeah, that whole waiting for a witness story, it turns out it was just a smokescreen. The real reasons for the delay were a whole lot messier, a mix of personal fear, greed, and cold, hard politics. You see, Felix started calling Paul in for these private chats. But as Paul talked about things like righteousness, self-control, and future judgment, this powerful Roman governor actually became afraid. The prisoner's words were hitting a little too close to home. And that convenient delay, it turns into 2 full years. For 2 years, Paul is just left in prison, in legal limbo. He hasn't been convicted of anything, but he hasn't been set free either. It's a staggering miscarriage of justice. So, what was really going on for 2 years? Well, it boils down to 2 corrupt motives. First, Felix kept hoping that Paul would offer him a bribe to secure his release. And when it became clear that no money was coming, he just kept Paul locked up as a political favor to his accusers. Eventually, Felix's term as governor ends, and a new guy takes over. But as a final parting gift to the local leaders he was trying to appease, Felix doesn't release Paul. He just leaves him there, in prison. Justice was never really on the table. It was all about political convenience. And so this ancient story leaves us with a question that feels incredibly modern. It's a powerful reminder that the scales of justice can be so easily tipped by personal greed and political pressure. It's something that is definitely worth thinking about.